I have enough material to do about 1,000 of these because there is so much that I've learned in the past year that has blown my mind, and as it's blown my mind, I've decided to just write about it on the wordsprophecy.com and firetown.com. I've been writing about what I learn, and every single day I learn more. And about a few weeks ago, it kind of evened itself out because basically it's not about how much you learn in detail, it's really about getting it. And in Hebrew, there is a saying, it's hafalafalim, and it means it's all bullshit. And it's one of those things that all Jewish grandparents tell their grandkids when they ask about the meaning of life or a key to the castle or the wisdom or whatever. When grandparents say, look, everything that you see and everything that you hear is bullshit, because it is. Once you get to that point, you start realizing that all of the things that have happened historically or what you learn in the news, if it's major, it is designed. It's designed, there is a reason behind it, and it's not the reason that they're telling you in the media that it is. And an example is, for example, the Titanic. Now we hear all that stuff about the Titanic, we saw the movie, so because of the movie, of course, every child knows the official story, but the fact of the matter is that there was two different ships. There was the Olympus and there was a Titanic, and the Olympus was damaged 2 years prior, and they couldn't get the insurance money for that. So in reality, the Olympus was, according to many of the people who worked on the docks, the one that went on the maiden voyage that was supposed to be the Titanic. And the person who owned the company that owned the Titanic was JP Morgan. And JP Morgan and his friends, they skipped out the very last minute, and left on the Titanic were some of the richest people in the world, who happened to be the ones that were opposed to what would come a year later, which was creating the Federal Reserve. So not only did JP Morgan's company get the insurance money for what he couldn't collect on a year before, he also got rid of all of the people who were posing a threat to centralizing the banking system owned by him, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and all of these guys whose offspring we are dealing with today. So Titanic was, so to speak, the 20th century 9/11, and it worked really, really well. Now, the same year that the Federal Reserve got started, the IRS got started. And the IRS is, of course, based on voluntary compliance. And needless to say, if you decide not to volunteer, you get into big trouble. And Mr. Bill Cooper found out the hard way that that would happen. So, also the Anti-Defamation League was formed the very same year. And basically, their purpose is to accuse anybody of anti-Semitism if you say something against the bankers of the world because they're Jewish or they're Khazarian or whatever they are. So basically, it was a great way to keep a network around the Federal Reserve, many different layers, where you obfuscate basically the essence of the fact that it's a privately owned company that's allowed to print as much money as they want, and you know it's always the same thing really. So basically, after all these years, we now see the end game, and I mean there are two different camps really amongst the elite. There are the royals, who are also the offspring of the pharaoh. They're like from the old, the British royals, they're all coming from the same families really. And then there is the Jewish sector, which is the bankers. So in the end, chances are these two channels will be fighting one another over world domination. But right now they're working together hand in hand. They're working together really, really well. And in a year, the economy is going to be collapsed in America because they don't need you anymore. You know, they're going to move, they're already moving all their assets to China, they're moving everything across the pond. So basically, what we're going to see is very, 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 it's closing in. And it's closing in big time. Basically, what you need to realize is that you've been had all along. The IRS is taking all your money and it's not putting it back into the country. It's putting it into the hand of the private bankers, and they don't need you anymore. They are now ready to completely destroy America's economy and say thank you very much. So, you know, this is the reason for everything. So the problem is that Americans are still thinking there's a solution somewhere. Well, there is a solution, but it's not one of those solutions that they tell you on Fox News. The solution is to get rid of the system as it is. And, you know, that system is designed to fail. It was designed to fail all along, and right now they got you. And there is really nothing else you can do but wake up your friends, I mean, slap them upside the head and tell them what's going on, because the propaganda continues. And I also posted a couple of things about David, you know, the whole thing, you know, with the, it's very hard to overcome this network of the anti-Semitism thing, you know, because ever since you're a kid, you're taught about the Holocaust. You're not taught about the 20 million Indians that were killed in America. You are taught about the Holocaust. And so basically combining that with the Bible, you know, supporting Israel and everything. I mean, there's, you know, America is now really, really on its last leg. So that's the reality, guys. And the Federal Reserve is the instrument to make that happen. So it's important, you know, that you guys don't lose hope regardless. You know, don't go crazy. Don't, I mean, just know what's coming, accept what's coming, or change what's coming. And that's my thought of the day. Thank you guys for watching. Goodbye.